Chop, the original Guillotine League podcast. Everything you need to know to avoid the chopping block. Chop is brought to you by GuillotineLeagues.com. Now, your host, Paul Charchian.
Welcome to Chop. I am Paul Charchian. We're here every Tuesday giving you waiver wire guidance to help you strategize your Guillotine League bidding. As always, I like to be joined by Brian Johnson, the voice of reason on this show. I'm the free-spirited spender. Brian, you're the tight-fisted miser on this show.
It might have cost me in one league this week. I might have pushed the boundaries a little too far. I was missing my first two picks, Bowers and O'Marion Hampton. Just tried to. Nope. It was
to power your way through.
Really bad week.
I'm really glad you brought this up. So you and I, compared to most, are very conservative in our bidding. I started the season with 11 Guillotine Leagues. I accept the fact that me not dropping $300, $400, $500 on some players early means I'm going to get chopped in some of them. Yep. I'm out of 3. I just feel like that's part of having an end game that involves having FAAB at the end of the game, which is so important to winning, means that I'm going to get knocked out of some of them early. And I mentally have to be okay with it. Obviously I don't want that, but you can spend $500 in FAAB early. You'll stay alive to mid-November, but you don't really have a very easy end path after that. So I think part of it, Brian, is if you're going to save FAAB and you're going to go that route, I think the easiest route to win, you just have to accept some early season losses, mid-season losses.
No doubt. Fully agreed. Probably could have spent a little more FAAB. I think I had like $993 left in this.
I should have got more FAAB.
I should have spent this week. I didn't. It cost me, but there you go. You live and you learn.
Well, it's a perfect opportunity. Let's check in right now. Let's do some level setting, Brian, on where teams should be right now. We're at roughly the halfway point, depending on which variation of Guillotine League you're using, because like some of them, like our Final Four variation, stops chopping for the final 3 weeks of the season. So we're at the midseason point now. If you're playing true last man standing style with teams getting chopped every week all the way to week 18, we're almost the halfway mark. So why don't we do this? Let's just do a check-in, because I think people want to know, am I on pace to win my Guillotine League? I mean, am I in a good spot or not? And Brian, I think there's 2 main paths right now to winning your Guillotine League based on where you are as we're heading into week 8. Have a lot of FAAB in the bank, or already have a lot of end game players. Brian, we talk about end game players a lot. Will you tell people what we mean when we say end game players?
They're essentially slam dunk starters when you're down to definitely the final two teams in your league if you make it to the championship. But they're just guys that almost regardless of matchup that you're going to be using them in the Guillotine League. And there's some ones that have already bubbled up that weren't dunks to begin the year, like Jackson Smith and Jigba, certainly an end game player right now. I don't know if we're ever going to see him on this list, the pace he's playing right now. I think 5 100+ yard games, but end game players, they're the studs. Quarterback, we're talking Josh Allen. We used to be talking Lamar Jackson. Hopefully we are talking Lamar Jackson again, but got to have your end game players. And I think that's going to lead into your first question, how many you should have around this.
Right now. So as you're heading into week 8, as you go through your rosters, how many end game players should people have now? And does it even matter?
Yeah, and I think that leads into like how aggressive should you be to acquire end game players right now? I think you want to have at least 3 guys you'd consider to be end game players on roster right now. And if you have none or one, you should go out and get some, because I think there are some on the list this week. But I think 3, you're feeling pretty good at this point.
Yep.
They can carry you to survival, and then you can still just hold on to your FAAB. And man, when you control the board in about a month, and by that meaning you have the most FAAB in your league, and you can just cherry pick all the free agents, there's no better feeling.
And every week, better and better teams are getting chopped, and hopefully not you. I'm with you. When I look through my rosters, most of them have got 3, maybe 2, maybe 4 end game players. I think that's about right now. I think that's about all we really can, you can reasonably ask somebody to have who, unless you've spent a lot of fab right now. And if you've spent a lot of fab, you've got a whole different problem we'll talk about in a second. Reminder, in December, you need all 8 roster spots to be filled with end game players to be competitive. It's very hard to be cobbling together flex level players when you're competing against other people in your Guillotine League that have all 8 rosters. Are just great players. So you won't have 8 yet. Do not panic if you don't have 8. You shouldn't have 8 yet. But I think I would be a little bit nervous if you're sitting at the 0-1-2 mark in endgame players. That might be a sign that you need to do a little bit of spending. I think that probably makes sense. Now, what's different in a Guillotine League, Brian? You can add a bunch of endgame players all at one time in 1 week. These great teams that are getting cut have 2, 3, 4 endgame players. They're getting cut. And so, especially when you get into November, teams are going to get cut with great players. You're going to go from 2 or 3 endgame players to 5 or 6 endgame players in 1 week. You can turn things around so fast in a Guillotine League. And Brian, that's really different than a standard league. And one of the great nuances of the Guillotine League is how fast you can turn your team into a juggernaut.
Absolutely, no doubt. And yeah, again, the longer you wait, it's obviously you have to survive. But the longer you wait, the prices will hit a peak on these endgame players, and then they're all much cheaper as the season goes on. So I think you want about 3 endgame players, as we both mentioned, and I think now we have to talk about how much fab you should have at this point, right? To move on forward. It shouldn't be $993, even though I do have that amount in some leagues. I haven't spent a lot, but I think right now, of course, you're not going to give up if you don't have anywhere near this amount, but you should, I think, have at least a third, $666 of fab to consider yourself truly in the hunt. Of course, that's roster dependent, but yeah, that's
you and I did not coordinate numbers, and I said 700. I think you want to be sitting at 700 or higher right now in fab left. But you can make do, ideally more. You can make do with less. But what if you're at 500 or less, Brian? I think you got to knuckle down. You just got to say, okay, this next month, I'm not spending fab. Put yourself on a very strict budget of about $10 a week for the next month if you're at 500 or less in fab at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, you can't afford to splurge on 1 or 2 players. You gotta, because odds are you only have 3, 4 end game players. You gotta be able to splurge on at least 4. So but the talent, the waiver wire, better players as teams get chopped, streamable players. So yeah, you just gotta play the matchups more, look for the dome games, the higher over unders, all that good stuff. So but yeah, you can't go out and be spending a lot, but you should still continue to listen to this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And later in this episode, we'll give you the 10 most chopped players, and we'll talk about how much you should spend on each of those. We'll give you regular players regular free agents that you'll want to go get. Rondé Gadsden of note in particular.
He doesn't seem too regular right now. Elite.
Oh, yeah, I know he is. I'm not sure what his availability is, but I bet about half of leagues Rondé Gadsden's available, and he's going to be somebody we'll spend some money on. We'll tell you exactly how much a little bit later. If you haven't already heard, you can get 1 year of Fantasy Life Plus for free. This is the highest level of premium content, tier 2 at Fantasy Life for free with the Comet browser. Go to fantasylife.com/Comet. That gets you everything on fantasylife.com. You get all the tools, the utilization report, the fantasy hub, the live scoring across all your leagues, and most importantly, Guillotine specific rankings. Most important to me. This is a $100 value. It is free. It runs for a full year. That includes the rest of this season, the fantasy playoffs, next year's draft season, all the way back to this day next year. fantasylife.com/Comet. This is a limited time offer. So go now, fantasylife.com/Comet. Okay, Brian. As always, we remind people, try to be as thoughtful as you can as you look at 6 teams on bye this week, Brian. Evaluate your chance of getting chopped this week, and that will tell you what your level of desperation is. This is a dangerous week with 6 teams on bye. It's the Bypocalypse right there. There's your 6 teams and some good teams in there. you've got to be really careful. Look at your roster, and not just yours, everybody else in your league. Decide what your probability is of being chopped. If you're going to survive this week pretty easily and other teams are really in a bind, boy, it's a great opportunity to save. And if you're in trouble, then you probably need to spend right here. It's the Bypocalypse, Brian.
Sure is. The first of two, but yeah, not the first one. Just looking at that list, I know Bowers isn't done much, but the tight ends on there, McBride, Bowers, who was the other big name on there that I've already forgotten?
Matt Lamarca, please throw that graphic
Laporta was one, but who was, real quick. Who?
There we go.
No, it was McBride, Bowers, Laporta.
Yeah.
Three biggies. Even
though
AJ we're going to, I don't know, Laporta, maybe we'll talk about him soon.
That topic may come up in a moment. If you're looking at bidding on elite players, the prices on elite players is starting to go down. Brian, we are seeing a real shift out of the $500, $400. Now elite players starting to go. We're looking at the average median bid of elite players that are available. That number is starting to come down into the 200s and into the 300s a little bit. So I still feel like for elite level players that show up on your waiver wire, my high end remains in that 200, maybe 250 range. Brian, for you, has anything really changed here? I feel like the world is coming down to us on where you and I usually sit on our max bidding for players. But that doesn't mean that I'm now going to shrink down what I would pay necessarily, just because the people that have burned a bunch of FAAB early have already done so.
Yeah, we're pretty lockstep there in that. I'm at 200 still. I'm willing to pay maybe a little more, and I think there's a guy or two on this week's list where I'll breach the 200 barrier. So I'm not depressing the max value on the end game players just yet, but we're getting there, getting close.
Yep. Middle tier players that can help you for like the next month, but maybe not past that. These are non-end game players. I think show caution here. Dropping $60 on those guys is going to cost you in the long run. This is a very dangerous way to drain your FAAB. Brian and I tend to recommend $10 to $20 on these mid-tier players that are only going to help you for a little while. And if it's a bi-week helper only for this week, you should be in the $1 to $5 range. Or $0 to $5 range on guys that you're just going to add to get you through this 6-week Bypocalypse.
Yeah. $25, $30 bids. They're pretty dangerous right now, unless they're like, slip through the crack type bids where you're trying to get a player that is worth more than that. But players that have that $30 value, don't pay it. 20 tops, 10 to 20, like you said. Agree there too.
It's sort of like the worst case scenario. You're spending a lot of money at $30. I mean, you spend $30 every week, you're suddenly in trouble. And so you do have to be really careful because those guys usually aren't league winning guys, but they do add up in totality. All right, Brian, let's get to our 10 most chopped players for week 8. And this list is brought to you by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place. It is easy. Xfinity, imagine that. Brian, I hope you didn't need points from anybody other than Jahmyr Gibbs on Monday night because we got some stone cold dud performances on that Monday night game. 4 of our top 10 players are coming out of the 2 Monday night football games. By the way,
not Jackson Smith and Jigba, though.
No, not him. Definitely not, and not Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is the best running back on the planet. With all due respect to Bijan Robinson, who I think is his closest peer right now, Gibbs is he's sensational at everything. He is the best running back in the NFL right now. You agree?
I cannot argue. No, if he at least Bijan and maybe McCaffrey are there with him, but no one is better right now than Gibbs.
McCaffrey's catching a ton of balls. He's been a he's been a great guillotine player because of the PPR. His rushing is not good.
No, it's not.
This is
Detroit's got a better line, but Gibbs has a better all-around skill set than McCaffrey does.
At this stage of their respective careers.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the 10th most chopped player. And it's from Monday night. I didn't think this would happen. Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield, a 13% chop rate. The upcoming schedule is at Saints. Then he goes on bye. And then it's New England. last week's median price on Baker Mayfield, who felt very safe, and I'm surprised he's on this list, $51. I really spent a lot of time on whether or not Baker Mayfield was an end game player. Love the arm, love the passing, probably will, almost certainly will not have Mike Evans available to him, Brian, in December when you're trying to win this thing. But man, he's been really good. He chips in 20, 30 rushing yards a game, but only 20, 30. Is Baker Mayfield an end game player?
Yeah, we were flirting with that notion in the last couple of weeks, and just think what Baker hasn't had at his disposal yet. We know Chris Godwin wasn't going to start the season, but he's supposed to have Jalen McMillan. So McMillan's been out all year. Godwin missed the first 3-4 games, came in, got hurt. Evans got hurt. So he's never had Egbuka, all those guys on the field at the same time. And Tez Johnson looks exciting.
He does. We'll talk about him more later.
By the way, Baker missed him, just airmailed Tez for a second touchdown late in that game. If you missed it, so he probably wouldn't be on this list if he made that throw.
You're probably
he
right.
was open. But anyway, I still love Baker. The schedule's tough moving beyond what the games you said in week 12. He's got the Rams and the Falcons, Panthers, got a good secondary on the docket. He is an endgame player in week 17, though, at Miami. At least right now
Yes,
he is. So I'm bidding on Baker, and in tough matchups, I'm still comfortable starting him. He feels like he has that 250 and 2 floor, right? And he can run, but not getting crazy aggressive. It's an intermediate bid. I'll bid like $12 on Baker right now.
I'm at $25 on Baker Mayfield. I don't love the loss of Mike Evans, but I just feel like that I trust Baker to rebound from a bad game. That was his worst game in a long time. And I feel like Tez Johnson is good enough. Kate Otten's good enough. You can throw to your running backs. I just feel like there's still a lot of paths for Baker Mayfield to be an end game player. I'd love him as my second quarterback. Would be awesome. At $25, I'm in on Baker Mayfield, and he might be my starter every week. He might be my backup every week, but I think he's in the end game conversation. The 9th most chopped player, Detroit wide receiver Jameson Williams, a 13.4% chop rate, utilization score of just 49 out of 100. Yuck. His upcoming schedule, bye this week, then Minnesota, then he's at Washington. Last week's median price on Jameson Williams was $30. Brian, what are you putting on Jameson Williams?
Well, he was on bye on Monday night too. 0 points.
Yeah, he was.
There was, not overwhelming sentiment that he might take over the wide receiver 1 role from Amon-Ra St. Brown in the preseason, but that's clearly not happening this year.
I'm glad that was not my take. I
wasn't mine, but there was, we thought J-Mo might take the big step, but he's not. He's regressed. More than half of his games, 2 catches or less, 0 and 1 in 2 of his last 3. He's a best ball player. He's a Guillotine League nightmare. I don't even want on my team to have to debate starting him, to be honest with you. And he's on bye. I'll bid $1 and see if I get him, and then I don't know. Go from there.
My bid on Jameson Williams, Brian, is -$1. I will pay you that $1 to put him on your roster, so you might be crazy enough to start Jameson Williams. I'll give you the buck. His dud games are so severe. He's everything you do not want in a Guillotine League player. He's got fantasy finishes this year. 7 games. Here's his 5 dud games. Wide receiver 61, wide receiver 54, wide receiver 59, wide receiver 89, and then last week, wide receiver 101 with 0 points. So this is how you get chopped in a Guillotine League, is somebody just like Jameson Williams. You can't pay me to put him on my roster. The 8th most chopped player, Brian, Chicago wide receiver Rome Odunze. 13.4% chop rate, utilization score of 72 out of 100. Upcoming schedule is interesting. At Baltimore, at Cincinnati, and the Giants. I want to pause on Baltimore for just a moment. The Baltimore secondary was getting roasted through the first third of the season, and they go on bye, but they're going to come back much healthier coming out of the bye. So I don't think they're going to quite be the layup that they were through the first part of the season. Last week's median price on Rome Odunze, $150. This is another player. Let me ask you. End game player, Rome Odunze.
First 4 weeks, he looked like one. And speaking of bye weeks, the Bears had their bye in week 5, so that's
Yes.
a plus. That's in the rear view, but that really cooled off Rome. He didn't need the bye week, that's for sure. He's been pretty quiet in the last 2 weeks. 6 targets last week, 5 the week before. We need those numbers up in the 8-9 range, targets per game. Luther Burden's coming on a little bit. DJ Moore, always a threat to soak up some targets. They like to throw to both tight ends, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monungai coming on a little bit. They're pass catching back. So they're mouths to feed. They're not elite. Rome is still the best player on the Bears. Still has end game potential. I'm not going to bid as much as he was going for last week. I'll go $99 on Rome, though. That just seems like a good number. I do want him on roster, and no bye week. But like you said, could be a tough matchup against Baltimore, but I still think flex worthy. Lamar Jackson comes back. Hopefully that's a shootout. So 99 on Rome.
All right. I am going to go 150 on Rome, which is what he went for last week. I feel like this is an alpha receiver on an offense that's clearly getting better every week. Ben Johnson improving the Bears, and the trigger man is Rome Odunze, who leads Chicago's receivers in every meaningful category: snaps, routes, targets, ADOT, air yards, you name it. Rome Odunze is the focal point of this passing offense. Yes, there are a lot of other receiving options, but they're usually in the 1 and 2 catch range. I'm not losing sleep over Colston Loveland, take anything away from Rome Odunze personally. Near-term schedule's favorable. You mentioned the already passed bye week. I'm in. I think Rome Odunze is going to only get better, and I believe in December he will be an end game player.
Speaking
the seventh most, yeah, go ahead.
Just Colston Loveland really quick. Wasn't he drafted before Tyler Warren? Didn't the Bears take him before Tyler Warren?
It was within, they were within like 2 picks.
I believe they
other.
did. Maybe Matt Lamarck.
Yeah, I think that's right. Matt Lamarck, our producer, chiming in with yes. That
Whoopsies if true. Not saying Loveland isn't going to pan out, but Tyler Warren. Elite.
The 7th most chop player, Jacksonville wide receiver Brian Thomas, a 13.6% chop rate. His utilization score is 69 out of 100. He's on bye this week, and we'll take it. At Las Vegas after that, that's favorable, and then a brutal matchup against that good Houston secondary. Last week's median price for Brian Thomas was $132. Brian, based on his play, I can't believe you're going to go anywhere near $132 for Brian Thomas.
No, I'm not going to bid as much on BTJ as I would on Rome. The Rams clearly tried to take him out of that game in London. They succeeded in that. We saw a ton of Travis Hunter, like 12, 14 targets. That was to be expected. At least they said they're going to ramp up Travis Hunter's usage in the receiving game. That probably doesn't bode better for BTJ than it is worse. I don't know, but he seemed like a dunk end game player to start the season. That's what we were expecting. He doesn't seem like one now. I know he's had a touchdown called back on, I think it was Travis Hunter like being offsides or something a week or two ago. So his numbers could be a little better, but I prefer a guy like Odunze more. So I go 70 on BTJ.
Wow. I'm half that amount. I'm $30.
Wow.
Less than half. I'm nervous here. The drops, the nagging injuries. Now he might come back off the bye healthier. I think that would help. But, Liam Cohen keeps using Diami Brown, Parker Washington. Travis Hunter's now soaking up a ton of targets. I think that all waters down Thomas's week-to-week reliability. That worries me a lot about Brian Thomas. Basically coming into his bye week. I'm not starting him at the bye, obviously. I don't think I'm starting him at Houston in 3 weeks. I can only get you to $30 on Brian Thomas. The 6th most chopped player, Brian, Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua. It just goes to show you we don't have deep rosters yet. And when you lose a player of Puka Nacua's caliber, even though we all knew well in advance of the game that he was not going to play, he still suffered a 13.8% chop rate. His utilization score is 91 out of 100. He is on bye this week. He'll get right on that ankle. Then he'll be at home against New Orleans, and then he travels to San Francisco. Last week's median price is a little misleading on Puka Nacua. It was $222. But remember, we knew he was hurt and was looking at 2 games off, right? He was going to miss the London game, and then he was going to miss the bye week. So a lot of people showed caution. I think you're going to have to pay more than the 222 that Puka Nacua went for last week, now that he's only going to miss 1 game. Needless to say, he's an end game player. Are you pushing in a bunch of chips on Puka Nacua, Brian?
Yeah, end game player for sure. He needs his own name. He's on a whole nother level when healthy. Like prime Antonio Brown kind of, just the guy that's like a lock to catch 10 see 15, 16 targets per game. Yeah, but on bye this week, that hurts. I don't honestly care who they're playing as long as he's healthy when it comes to the schedule outside of the bye week. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
Agree with you in that you're probably gonna have to pay a little more because now you're looking at 1 game off instead of 2. I was coming in thinking 250. I'm going to go 251 just to make sure I get them. And I don't know if I will, but I'm not going to spend more than that right now.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this Puka Nacua bid, and I'm in the ballpark you're in. I'm a little higher, 275. Puka Nacua feels like the kind of guy that wins you a guillotine league. You can't do it single-handedly because there's too many good players that are going to be on rosters, but man, he could power you right into December and then help you win. So you're going to bid on him. The question is how much. I just feel like this is a rare chance to get arguably the single most valuable guillotine league asset that there is. So I'm putting in 275 on Puka Nacua. You and I probably won't get him. I think somebody's going to go 300 in my leagues for Puka Nacua. But Brian, I'm going to put in enough that I feel like I made a real effort to try to get Puka onto my team. You saved your FAAB for moments like this, right?
I was going to say, if you're in the $900, if you're in that $900 FAAB range, you are the team that can spend 300 comfortably on Puka right now. But again, if that's going to push you kind of below the $600 range, your Puka bid, 500, 600, be careful. There's still a ways to go.
There is still a way to go. Yeah. Don't go crazy. We're halfway through our top 10 most chopped players. An opportunity to remind you, if you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have Xfinity. All the games, all in one place. 5 different elements with Xfinity that you need to consider. Number 1, Sports Zone. Every pro football game and over 1,000 college games. Highlights, alerts, all in one place. Multi-view. View up to 4 stadiums at one time, and presumably the games that are happening in those stadiums. The Xfinity Fan View. Live scores, odds, stats, all in one place, personalized to you. You get Xfinity's enhanced 4K, simply stunning, and the voice remote. Just say football. Or in Brian's case, say, I love getting outbid for Puka Nacua. Imagine all your football all in one place. It's easy with Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. All right, Brian, let's go to the 5th most chopped player. Houston, wide receiver, Nico Collins, a 14.3% chop rate, utilization score, 68 out of 100. His upcoming schedule is interesting. 3 home games for Houston. San Francisco, a very tough game against Denver, and then Jacksonville. Last week's median price on Nico Collins is $201, but right now, in this moment, this is thorny because we don't know the status of Nico Collins' concussion. And I worry that he won't clear the protocol in a short week, and that makes this a thornier bidding process.
Yeah, no doubt. But what a run of receivers here. BTJ, yes. Puka, and Nico all slam dunk first round picks, especially in a 18-team guillotine leagues. But it's the way it goes. But anyway, yeah. The mystery around the concussion, not ideal. Assuming he plays, but I'm with you. I'm not so comfortable he does. I'm putting Monday night in the rear view. He had a bad drop, would have helped his numbers more. Still had 10 targets. He's still going to see that kind of volume. He's still an elite talent. I'm not convinced CJ Stroud is an elite talent. I don't know if I ever actually thought that. He looked like he was going to be one his rookie year. But anyway, if Puka, I'm sorry, you got me doing it. If Nico is cleared, and I'm confident in that, I would put a healthy bid on Nico, despite the not so great schedule of about $170. He is an end game player in my mind, but the concussion mystery, you got to play it a little more conservative. I'm at 120 on Nico as it stands right now.
We're in the same ballpark. I'm at 105 based on what I know right now, which is a fear that Nico does not play this week and then gets the Broncos and Patrick Surtain. They've allowed one touchdown to wide receivers to this point of the year. That's it. And then you've got this Houston offense that just goes through stretches where they just look dreadful. And it's all about the offensive line. They rank 29th in pass block win rate, 28th in run block win rate. The offensive line is just so bad that Houston just has stretches of games where they're just non-functional on offense, and that worries me. We love Nico Collins, but I'm only paying $105 on Nico. The fourth most chopped player, Detroit tight end Sam Laporta, a 14.7% chop rate. His utilization score is 68 out of 100. Lions are on bye this week. Then they've got the Vikings. That's been a good tight end defense. And then they're at Washington. Last week's median price on Sam Laporta, $57. Brian, I don't think he's an end game player.
He's not if he could somehow absorb Brock Wright and they become one and go by the name Sam Laporta. I know it's not that simple. They run a lot of two tight end sets, but just looking at the game logs for the Lions for tight ends, Brock Wright's right there with Sam Laporta in every game with like 3 or 4 catches, and some of them are touchdowns. And he was the leading receiver on Monday night in terms of yardage, and they both had 3 catches. You put those numbers to Laporta, 6 catches, you're going to get by regardless of yardage. But man, Brock Wright, he's too much of a factor to trust Laporta as an end game elite player. So, we were saying those $50-something bids, you got to send those to the sun at this point. So bye week, Vikings, $10 on Laporta. He's still startable. 15.
Yep.
Yeah. Right about that.
That's it. I want him as my second tight end, not my first tight end. And if I've got somebody else that's not on bye this week, I'll pick up Laporta. I'll play Laporta during that bye week, and if something were to happen to my number one tight end, but I can't rely on Sam Laporta at this point. The third most chopped player, a bit of a surprise, Chicago quarterback Caleb Williams. I say a bit of a surprise because I didn't think he'd be started widely enough, but I really liked him coming into the Saints game. I thought he was sitting on a really nice game. Didn't happen. We saw Roman Odunze. They ran. Basically, the Bears got ahead and just ran. And it was a reminder, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, Ben Johnson's running game starting to look like Gibbs and Montgomery, what they're doing with Swift and Monangai. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But anyway, back to Caleb Williams. At Baltimore this week, at Cincinnati and the Giants. We talked about that schedule with Rome Odunze. Last week's median price was $19. What are you putting on Caleb Williams, Brian?
Yeah, also mentioned with Rome Odunze, Bears have had their bye week, so that's a bonus for Caleb. There was some weather, too, in that Bears game against the Saints, right? It wasn't, like, ideal. It wasn't a shootout, especially against the Saints. So, yeah, not a great performance, why we're talking about him right now. But it's not a great defense in Chicago. They do have weapons. Caleb is mobile. I'm not convinced he's an endgame player yet, but, hey, you never know. He's been touted as an endgame caliber player since he was drafted into the league. We'll see how fast he gets there, but I think he's certainly startable many weeks. You'll have the option again because he's had his bye already. So I'll be kind of aggressive for a non-endgame quarterback and bid $16 on Caleb Williams if I need a quarterback. If I'm in the market,
yeah,
which
and
I feel like it's a lot.
Teams,
right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's what I have $5 on Caleb Williams. There are 11 teams at most left in your Guillotine League. There's a lot more than 11 viable Guillotine quarterbacks. So pretty much every team's got a decent quarterback at this point. So I see Williams as a backup behind my other quarterback. And that puts me in the $5 range for Caleb Williams. The number 2 most chopped player, Las Vegas running back Ashton Genty, a 16.4% chop rate. His utilization score, 76 out of 100. His upcoming schedule is a bye week, Jacksonville, and then at Denver. Last week's median price on Ashton Genty, $240. Ow, that hurts to get a terrible game out of him. Did you see this? Raiders ran the third fewest offensive plays in like basic Super Bowl era. I mean, just total disintegration of that offense. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the Geno Smith investment looks terrible by the Raiders.
I said the Raiders should have pursued Sam Darnold.
You
Oh,
did.
well.
Well, you said everybody. You said
Well,
everybody should have
they were
pursued
a
Sam Darnold.
realistic suitor before they traded for Geno, of course. But anyway, sucks for the Raiders. Yeah, train wreck. Yeah. Well, at least Genty led the team in carries with 6. Dylan Laube had 2. Brutal. I don't know, man, what to do with Genty. Just because why did they draft him in? Like, he's the finishing piece, not the first piece. Like,
Well, yeah, and when your offensive line is that bad, they could have used pick. What was it? Was he pick 7?
6, 7, 8. He was top 10,
Yep.
something like that.
I'm sure Matt LaMarca will remind us. You could have used that pick to just bolster your offensive line for your future starting quarterback and running back to be named later. And remember, this was such a deep running back draft. They could have gone offensive line with that first round pick and then running back later and still gotten a good running back in theory anyway. So
Yeah.
Matt LaMarca reminding us 6th pick overall for Vegas. Now, at the time, in fairness, we were all excited about Ashton Genty dropping into this offense, and we all hoped for good things. You and I said we thought he'd be guillotine viable. He has really not been guillotine viable, like most rookies, man. Just we talk about it all the time in the preseason, Brian. You just can't trust rookies, and it's been made abundantly clear even this year, and through the 1/3 point of this season, and as we're heading into the middle part of the season. Anyway, what are you bidding on Ashton Genty? This is a tricky spot to be in.
Yeah, bye week, then Jacksonville at Denver, not ideal. Pete Carroll said they want to give him 20 carries a game, but I don't know if they're going to have the opportunity to do that. And then, the Raiders are clearly a train wreck. Like, why are you going to run Genty into the ground later in the season too, right? It makes you a little concerned there. Thought he could be an endgame player after last week. I'm not so sure. With the buy, I don't know. I'll bid $60 on him right now. That's about it. And I'll definitely start him if I survive the week when he's on bye. But you're not going to be thrilled about it. Just the current state of the Raiders is so bad.
It's so bad, unfortunately. They find themselves in deep deficits. They can't run the ball well. Offensive line's terrible. Bye week. I don't know. Maybe I'm stubbornly still hoping Genty's utilization scores high. He's getting plenty of usage in his offense when they can actually do anything with it. I'm at $100 on Genty in the hope that things are going to get better.
Obviously, running back desperate. You're in this situation, spending that
yes, exactly. Not as a luxury pick. I'm not spending that as a luxury pick. That is for certain. Okay, let's go to our final of the 10 most chopped players, and that is Philadelphia running back Saquon Barkley, a 17.1% chop rate, utilization score of 80 out of 100. This is, I believe, the 4th appearance in the last 5 shows. Fifth most chopped, 5th appearance in 7 weeks. Crazy for Barkley. What are we doing here? This is the offensive player of the year. Schedule: Giants, bye week at Green Bay. It's sad that we get to keep using the same graphic over and over again. People were still paying for big money for Saquon Barkley as recently as last week, Brian. $313 was the average bid. Ouch. Is Saquon Barkley an end game player?
You asked me this last week, right? I said I don't think so anymore, and it's because he's not getting any help from his offensive line. He was the yards before contact were the highest in his career, and that goes back to the dark days with the Giants. This year, as of right now, Barkley is 4th in touches, 25th in combo yards. That just brutal. No 100-yard rushing games this season. Push, of course, just vultures him week in and week out. I wish I should have went back and checked on what I was going to bid on Barkley. It was low, but it would be lower. I'll start him when they're playing, but a bye week looming and tough matchup, so I'm not thrilled about it. I'll go 100 on Barkley too. As of right now, he's fallen very far from grace in my mind.
Yeah, $85 on Barkley. I'm down to this. I think at the beginning of the year when he kept getting chopped, we were talking about 200s, which at the time was conservative. He was going in the 400s. So we were at half then. And we're probably at half now as we're talking about $85 bids on Saquon Barkley. But it's come to this for him. This is an offense that in which pretty much everything that went right for Barkley last year, the long runs, him getting goal line touchdowns, all the stuff that you worried would not be repeatable, but hoped to assume they would because it all worked out. Not here, unfortunately. All right. Let's talk about regular waiver wire guys. These are the generally cheap guys that are popping up on standard league waiver wires, but you would also care about here. These are generally guys you don't have to pay very much for. And new for this segment, it's called What You Biddin', brought to you by Pristine Auctions. There's something for every fan at Pristine Auctions. First-time users, if you use code FL20, you get $20 in credits added to your account. If you've already got an account at Pristine Auctions, use the code Fantasy Life when you win an item, and you'll get $25 off at checkout. So you get two different ways to save a bunch of money at Pristine Auctions. I was over at Pristine Auctions looking at Mike Evans memorabilia. Since, I hope it's not a career. I think the Bucs are going to make the playoffs, and there's people saying Mike Evans could come back from this broken shoulder in the playoffs. So hopefully we're not talking about the end of career here. But that brought me to all the Mike Evans memorabilia at Pristine Auctions, of which there is much. Which of these alternate Mike Evans helmets do you like the best, Brian?
All right.
Let's start with this guy right here. Oh, there we go. We got all three in one graphic. Nicely done, Matt. Do you want the original creamsicle? Do you want the white variant of the current one? Or do you want this oddball red and black one that I totally unique to me? I imagine they probably wore that uniform one time, but I don't remember that.
No, they're all awesome and worthy of substantial bids, but this is by far the easiest question I've ever been asked in my entire life. It's always the original orange creamsicle when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Come on now, look at that thing. It's a beauty. One of the all-time bests. Even though the signature is bigger on the red one, I kind of like that red one. I remember that other white one, like they wore once as an alternate. I think they probably maybe use that other red one, but no, you got to go with the OG creamsicle with the actual.
Matt LaMarca is on the white and black one, and I kind of am too. If I'm just looking at it from the pure aesthetics, really? I kind of like that. Yeah, yeah.
To each their own. That's the beauty of Pristine. There's so many options to bid on.
Yeah, there you go. I like the way you're thinking about it. When I see a wide receiver with the old creamsicle helmet, Kevin House, baby.
Kevin House.
Kevin House.
That predates me.
That predates you.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. He used to roast my Vikings. All right. Let's talk about Chicago running back Kyle Monangai. He is starting to emerge as the David Montgomery and Ben Johnson's 1-2 punch in Chicago. 15 touches last week, way more than anything else we've ever seen. Now, maybe it was just because the Bears got ahead on the Saints and just decided they were just going to run out the game, which totally worked. Or maybe we're starting to see a 1-2 punch here. Monangai posted a career high 39% rush share against the Saints. What do you think here? Would you throw a few bucks down on Kyle Monangai in a Guillotine League? Brian, what you bidding?
Absolutely. Because again, the Bears haven't had their bye week, so Monangai could be certainly a flex fill in. And yeah, he's got the Montgomery build, and he can run guys over, but he can catch too, and he's got wheels. So if something were to happen to Swift and he gets a bell cow role, I mean, he has end game player potential. Because I don't know if Roshan Johnson is even who. I don't think they like any other running backs on their team outside of those two guys. So
right.
Long story short, Monangai might just take Swift's job eventually. Who Swift not proven to be super durable, handle 300 plus touches in a season. So I think we see a lot of Monangai moving forward. It's not a mirage, it's a trend. So I'd bid, if I was really in need of a running back and I'm getting hit hard by the Bypocalypse right now, like $8 on Monangai.
Yeah, I'm at 10. I'm in $10 on Kyle Monangai.
It's a fun name to say too.
Monangai. Oh, there is that too. Yes. Yeah. Not the easiest to spell, by the way. I always got to double check myself. Sadly, Kendre Miller's season is over, and that gives us an opportunity. It's a little bit of a hunch. We don't play a lot of hunches in guillotine leagues because we don't have the luxury to wait out anybody. But Devin Neal is the next guy up, and Alvin Kamara's been weirdly bad. Over the past 5 weeks, Alvin Kamara averaging 3.2 yards per carry. That's it. Also disappointing is receiving for Kamara's withered down to just 18 receiving yards per game. Devin Neal, the rookie, shifty, elusive runner, terrific footwork. He can catch. And if either Kamara is just not very good anymore, or anything happens to Kamara, or they want to distribute the workload more from a 30-year-old running back, Devin Neal.
Yeah, certainly certainly some interest with Neal. Kamara, it's kind of been the theme the last few years. He starts, I wouldn't say he started this season hot, but certainly serviceable, but just kind of fades. It's kind of been his MO, sadly, as he gets older. So yeah, they're going to see what Neal can do and what's going to become a lost season for the Saints. I'm not entirely ruling out the possibility that they trade Kamara either. But yeah, either way, Neal worth a look. I'm not going to go as high as I would on Manungai, but I'll go about half, $4. Devin Neal.
I am a buck on Devin Neal. All right, Brian, let's look at Brashard Smith from Kansas City. We're talking about running backs. Kareem Hunt injured. Don't know his status for sure. Smith coming off career highs in every category, and he's got the best hands of any Chiefs runner. It was promising to see 5 receptions on 5 targets last week. So, Brian, what you bidding on Brashard Smith?
Yeah, before last week, so going into Sunday, Isaiah Pacheco was coming off like a 80%, 80% of the carries for the Chiefs. So it looked like he was about to take this bell cow role. But then Brashard Smith, 14 carries last week to the 15 from Pacheco, and as you mentioned, 5 catches. That's pretty interesting. if that's sustainable, that's like taking Pacheco's job almost at some point, and he becomes the bell cow. And if that's the case,
well, Pacheco's coming off the best game of his season. He looked good. He looked legitimately good last week. So I don't think Brashard Smith's going to take his job. I think he's going to take Kareem Hunt's job.
Oh, for sure. But Pacheco, again, I'm not predicting injury, but we've seen that a lot, and we've just kind of seen him fall off the face of the earth at times. But he did look good last week. He's still the starter, but Brashard Smith looks like the 1B now and is threatening. So I'll go to the higher echelon of the intermediate bid. I'm going to put him as an intermediate player now, just on that potential if he does, become like 70% touch guy. So I'll go 20 on Smith if I'm really in need of a running back.
Yeah, I'll go $5 and see if I think I can win him on $5 for Brashard Smith. 2 more guys for you, Brian. Tampa Bay wide receiver Tez Johnson. With Mike Evans out, Tez Johnson's going to get vaulted into a starter's role. 7th round rookie. He's tiny, but dude, if you look at that touchdown that he scored on Monday night, it shows you everything you need to know about Tez Johnson. He's got crazy moves. He's got speed. He's got jukes, determination. I mean, that end zone touchdown was fantastic. Getting into the end zone, pelted with 9 targets on Monday, proving that Baker Mayfield's got faith in Tez Johnson. I think there's a decently sized bid to be had on Tez Johnson here. Brian, what you bidding on Tez Johnson?
Yeah, that 9th target, again, we talked about earlier, was an Baker airmail that it should have been a touchdown. Tez looks awesome. The guy they want to get the ball in his hands, several passes, they just give it to him in the flat, see what he can do. You love that from a PPR perspective for sure. Really, the only concern is, the influx of wide receivers that might come back for the Bucs. It's not going to be Mike Evans anytime soon, but Chris Godwin could be coming back. Jalen McMillan a week or 2 out, but after the last 2 weeks, I don't know how they keep Tez off the field. It's a tough one. He's gonna burn you too. You feel like in a bad way, right? Like if you feel like he's still sort of a spike week player, not fully trustable. But I don't know that that's the case. Yeah, I know. You're right.
Tez Johnson, Baker Mayfield can get the ball to a lot of different players. He can feed multiple players. And Chris Godwin, to me, I think Tez Johnson is going to outscore Chris Godwin rest of season.
Yeah, that's not a crazy prediction at all. So yeah, I put a significant bid on Tez. It's being more than $1 for sure. I'll go like $6 on
Okay.
Tez.
I'm
Wide
going
receiver
20
needy.
bucks.
20?
I'm going
Yeah,
20
I don't hate it. Love the
Okay.
guy.
Final one.
He's got to stop
Chargers-
doing backflips in the end zone, though.
No, he does not. Keep doing that if you can.
No.
Please do.
I don't like to invest in that.
You act like there's this run of players who have injured themselves doing backflips. That is not the case. I don't think there's any data about
I hate to say it, but it's coming because I'm seeing too many. So they're
Chargers tight end Oronde Gadsden, breakout performance last Sunday, 164 yards in a fantastic game. To give you a sense of how good 164 yards is for a tight end, Brian, you want to guess how many 164-yard games Travis Kelce has had in his 13-year career?
Man, I was just going to say any tight ends over the last 13 years. I'm going to guess 0.
He has had 3.
3? Okay.
Years. I mean, that's a hell of a performance for Oronde Gadsden. He's got the 4th longest ADOT among all tight ends. I love that. So many tight ends, it's dink and dunk underneath stuff like Travis Kelce's languishing with that right now. Now, to me, the danger on Oronde Gadsden, Brian, is Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, right? And
Keenan Allen.
And Keenan Allen, right? There's going to be some games where there's just not enough ball to go around to feed Oronde Gadsden, but he looks really, really good. So, Brian, what you bidding on Oronde Gadsden?
Yeah, he could burn you too because there's so many mouths to feed. But man, if they give him that kind of run that they did last week, you can start him with confidence, and he's would almost push like a flex-worthy status at least at this point in the season. So if you're tight end needy, and most are, especially if you're somehow alive after drafting Brock Bowers, who's now going into his they're going to their bye week, I believe. Yeah. If you're a manager like that, $10 on Gadsden because the upside seems to be there, and the floor seems somewhat safe. They just have to realize he's way better than Will Dissly. And who am I blanking on?
You love Will Dissly.
I just like saying his name like he's Scottish. Will Dissly.
Yeah. $20 on Oronde Gadsden. I don't think your 10 is going to be enough. Not after the 164-yard game. I think people are gonna try to find him. Great job today, Brian. I want to remind everybody that's made it to the end of this rather lengthy version of Chop, the Guillotine League podcast. You can get 1 year of Fantasy Life Tier 2 premium content for free with the Comet browser. Go to fantasylife.com/Comet. It gets you everything on fantasylife.com. Everything we've got: tools, utilization report, the Fantasy Hub, Guillotine specific rankings. You get the rankings of the brilliant minds of Dwayne McFarland, of Ian Harditz, of Matthew Friedman, who'll be joining us on Thursday. That is a $100 value that you get for free just by downloading the Comet browser for yourself. You get it for a full year, by the way. You'll get it to this day next year. So you'll get it not only for the rest of this season, but you'll be drafting off the Fantasy Life premium content you will get next year as well. Limited time offer. Brian, great job. We will be back. Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday with some of the players we believe that you will want to be careful with for a flex around, and find out Thursday on Chop, the Guillotine League podcast. Talk to you then, everybody.